Welcome to your Voice Your Impact show, where authentic voices spark real change and bold conversations lead to lasting impact.
That's right. This is a space where we amplify ideas, celebrate stories, and challenge mindsets because every voice matters and every story has the power to transform.
Whether you're a dreamer, a doer, a change maker, or someone simply figuring it out, we are here for you. Each week, we bring inspiring guests, thought-provoking conversations, and powerful insights to help you own your voice and leave your impact.
I am the energetic EJ, a life and transformational coach, a podcaster, and an event host. I work with women who are accomplished to turn their success into legacy influence.
Hi, my name is Olawale Afolabi, but many know me as Scott Unlimited. I'm a seasoned compere and orator par excellence, passionate about connecting people through words and purpose. Beyond the mic, I'm a business intelligence professional driven by insight, strategy, and impact.
My name is Grace So Amazing. I am an integrative life coach. I help my clients align their psychological, social, and physical well-being. I am the founder of Friends Lean On Global Foundation, a non-governmental organization that is centered on educating people about mental and emotional well-being. Like,
subscribe,
and share. Welcome.
All right. Yes. Welcome to another episode on Your Voice, Your Impact show today, the 24th of November, 2025. Yes. And we are now on to the final week of November. And so far this month, it's been amazing. Let me bring on Gracie, and then we'll just kind of give you a quick recap of what the month has been like, talking about the Movember movement, talking about men's mental health. And it's been a roller coaster of conversations, from vulnerability in men to men being in their skins and having different perspective about men and why they suffer a lot in silence. And, the construct of the society that puts a whole lot of pressure on men that causes them to go silent, that causes them to believe that nobody cares about them. And so it's been a beautiful expose for me personally, because just listening to, and I'm just so glad that one way or another, we would have loved to have a woman's perspective, but I'm also glad that all through the month, we've been speaking to men, and it's giving us a lot. Let me speak for myself. I'm sure Grace has her own version of the story to say that it's interesting to see the different perspective from different men. And it's just beautiful to also see that some men are open to talking about these things. And so it's been very enlightening so far, and I'm looking forward to what's left of the month and the conversations that we're going to be having today. Gracie, how are you today? And how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. I must add, over the weekend, here at our center was a venue where we hosted someone that did a marathon for 60 hours. He trained people for 60 hours. He attempted the Guinness World Record, and he actually did it for 60 hours. So, I mean, when we were saying that we should put it out there, it should be a buzz and everything, he was like, look, what I want to do is a quiet thing. I don't want noise to distract me. So we were just doing it kwele kwele. He did it with he taught 20 people cloud engineering. So, this IT stuff. So I was a part of it. And I mean, we're going to talk about certain things, and our guest, I'm going to ask him some questions around, pushing beyond your limits and everything. So for me, this weekend was about understanding how limitless we are, and how whatever limit we put it by ourselves. And for me, that was a highlight during this weekend. And then talking about men in general and this month, I mean, I can't wait to speak with our guest who we have today. I have some interesting questions that I want to ask. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So, yeah, today we're talking about Superman. He's still a man. Even though there's super in it, he's still a man. And to be honest, men also desire and deserve soft life. And, when this topic came up, we were having a conversation with our guest today earlier on, like an meet and greet. By the way, we got introduced to our guest today by another guest who was on the show in the month of October when we're talking about mental health generally. And so when we got talking with our guest today, it's like, you know what, you are coming for November because you're a man. I want to hear your thoughts and looking at this topic through your lens as a global health, arts, global art health leader. And an artist himself. So when we were talking about having that conversation and he mentioned this line, I'm like, okay, that's my line. I'm not changing it. That's the title of this session. Superman says he still be man. He's still a man, right? So want to hear from our guest today, Dr. Adewale. And by the way, he got an award. He was recognized just this past weekend for the work that he do for the work that he does as a social impact person. So yes, 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 it's a celebration from our end of him, and then we're going to hear from him right about now. Hello, hello, Dr. Kunle. How are you today? Oh, your mic is muted. Please unmute.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to join you in this important conversation today. I'm looking forward to sharing with our wonderful guests online as well.
Absolutely. I'm just going to plug that. Congratulations on being recognized at the world's biggest entrepreneurship festival, the Global Entrepreneurship Festival. And just this past weekend, as a recipient of the 2025 Social Impact Award, congratulations. That says a lot of who you are, the work that you do. And we just wanted to celebrate you for, that as well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. So, welcome to the show. First of all, I know Grace says she has plenty weird questions, and we're going to go for it. My own first weird question: do you feel like you're a Superman?
Um, I think it's not a feeling, it's a knowing.
Again.
So you can feel and your feeling can go off and your feeling can be wrong.
Mm,
But when you know, your knowledge is valid, feeling can go on and off, but it's just what you know. I know that I'm a Superman. I'm not feeling, it's knowing, it's understanding, it's acknowledgement. And I think you're speaking to the dimension of identity. So for me, being a Superman is not in the dimension of the bigness in stature, but in bigness, the bigness in the future, the bigness of who I am as a person. So bigness in terms of capacity, what I can do as a person, what I've been doing for over a decade as well. So I think it's not. There will be days when you're not feeling like a big person, but it doesn't invalidate that you're a big person. If Dangote wakes up today, the richest man wakes up today, I say, well, I'm feeling low, but it doesn't reduce his bank account. His money is there, right? So life happens, but it doesn't change who we are when we recognize who we are in terms of identity, who we are. So I recognize who I am in terms of, who God has made me and the purpose he has given to me to really make a difference in the lives of other people, not just in the United Kingdom where I'm based now, but also around the world, as I've been
Lord,
doing
I
for
love it.
many years.
I love it. I love it. The knowing, like when you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, quick
Absolutely,
trade.
absolutely. People can actually confuse you, and I think that is one of the things that I think. Since we're talking about men, I think that there is a major identity crisis that men actually are facing in a way. When you don't know who you are, and people are just giving you opinion, people are just giving you an idea, you will never become what God has actually created you to be. You will never become who God has actually made you to be, because you think your creation is is more like you came into existence by opinion of men. No, you came to creation because God wanted to be in existence. So you
Mm.
recognizing God's purpose for your life, you recognizing why you're here is very important. So, and I think it's very challenging to see that many actually go through life without knowing who they are, and that they are confused. They are not only confused, also they are also victim of life circumstances, because
Mm.
when life happens, they can't stand the test of time.
Right. Right. That's a deep. You just took us boom inside a deep well, but I'll bring you back quickly. I want you to, in your own words, describe who you are and what you do to our viewers. I know we in the creation of this particular episode, we shared your profile or your bio, your official bio, but we love to meet our guests from their own words. Like you're here. Let's hear from the horse's mouth. How would you describe yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do before we dive back into this depth that you're taking us on this conversation.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to be I'm going to introduce myself in a simple way, because again, I feel like there's so much about me that is very difficult for me to describe me. So my name is Kunle Adewale. I'm a visual artist. I'm a multidisciplinary artist as well. I'm very passionate about change. I'm very passionate about development. So I see myself majorly as somebody who makes a difference in the life of others, whether it's through creativity, whether it's through community engagement, whether it's through collaboration, whatever that is. I think that's what I would describe myself as. And over 10 years now, I've worked with different population, the refugees, work with women who are victims of war or terror. I work with patients in the hospital, work with young people living with sickle cell anemia, those with mental health challenges, work with elderly people living with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, working with community members, working with different people all over the world. So it's very hard for me to be able to describe myself. So the best way I can describe myself would be a difference maker. And I think that's what it is. It summarizes everything.
I love it. I love it. There's the saying by John C. Maxwell that attitude is the difference maker. And, you know, from what you've shared so far and how you've showed up and how you're here, you've got a great attitude. So, yes, you're a difference maker. I agree. So, I'm just going to pass the mic on to Grace as we go deeper into the conversation for the day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kunle. I mean, before we got on board, can you hear me? I can
Loud
see
and
that.
clear. I can hear you. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm just listening
Okay.
in.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure because it was as if EJ was stuck. All right. So from the conversation we had before we got on here, you said something behind the scenes, and it got me thinking. And for our viewers, it was just a case of, you know, sometimes achievements, you don't attach yourself with certain achievements. That was what I got. And so I want you to talk about that in the sense of, you know, not wanting to attach yourself with achievements, what it means when you attach yourself and identity with your achievements. And from there, I would ask the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I think achievement in itself is not bad, but I think it can be a trap, actually. Many people have been successful and in their lives, and today they are trapped in pride, they are trapped in ego, they are trapped that they don't have empathy towards other people. So they feel like, do you know who I am? You know, that kind of attitude. So, and oftentimes I tell people I'm not a celebrity artist. So I know that I've met a lot of people who feel like they're a celebrity. I'm not one of them. And I tell people, you can relate with me as a normal human being, and I'm going to talk to you. So I feel like accomplishment or achievement in itself should not take away our humanity, which I think is very important, because it can be a very dangerous place to be when you become really like a high achiever. You see other people as failures. There's a way you look at people, you look down on them. There's a way you can look at them, you feel like, so sometimes we always feel like we want to have this sense of power, this sense of importance, there's this sense of being high and mighty. I feel like for me, that's not who I am. I sometimes I tell people that I'm a servant leader, and I think so. Whatever I achieve is just like a plus, but it doesn't remove from who I am. That I can relate with anybody. And I remember there were a time when I was in the United States when I would be performing or singing with a homeless person on on the road, or by the train station, singing with a homeless person, with my short knicker and jacket, singing with a homeless person. I don't want to go through life when I can't really move freely. Why? Because now you're a very high achiever. You agree with me, even for people who actually, from the side of the world that we came from, they can't walk freely, right? But I want to be able to walk freely without having all of these, accolades. It can be a heavy load actually. But I want to be a very light person who want to be able to relate with anyone, regardless of what achievement that people think I have, or regardless of what people think I am. And I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm so excited, I'm able to connect with you," and all of that. They are very happy. Well, I'm very happy they are very happy, but I'm just a normal human being like you. And life has brought me into where I am today, but it doesn't make me better than you, right? It does not make me higher than you. We are all equal, regardless of whatever achievement I have or whatever you are in life. So for me, achievement can be a trap when it's not well managed. Success can be a trap because it can put you in a place of pride, and it can make you to look down on other people and treat them badly. And before you know it, before a fall is pride. What you think you have achieved, you will just go down the drain, and that's going to happen in a way. So for me, maintaining a humble posture is very important for securing the future. So you can't secure the future if you don't have if you don't have a humble posture, because what you think you have achieved with pride can rob you of what you think you have now and take away everything you've ever worked for.
Thank you so much for that answer. And there's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to have a follow up question. I watched a video over the weekend, and it was Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is a very big guy in the coaching industry, and he said that when they were younger, they brought charity to their house. They brought something for them, Thanksgiving food, and the father refused. He said, "We don't want charity," and they were suffering. They were literally suffering, and they needed it. But the man was so egoistic, and he didn't want to collect charity. But the man that brought it already knew the family was suffering and needed that food. And he said to the man that, "Look, don't let your ego stop your family from eating. You know they need it. Don't allow your ego." And that brings me to man and ego. I want you to talk about, because you talked about pride and how it comes before a fall. Some school of thought will tell you that there's some level of ego that is required for a man to be able to achieve certain things. And another school of thought is your ego can stop you from achieving certain things. And then you talked about pride comes before a fall. I want you to help us marry everything. And then there's this thing about humility. And there's this thing again about gratitude. You don't want to dim your light just because it will make other people feel bad. So there's a whole lot put together. So I want you to marry all this together to help people know when they want to be grateful. And um, you have earned a certain thing in life, and you should celebrate it. For instance, you become certain things. So where do you strike the balance? Being humble, being able to be grateful, to show gratitude to what you have achieved by celebrating your wins, and then thirdly, being having the ego that if ego is a good thing, or how you'd want to relate ego to that thing that happened, with the example I just gave. So that men is a man that if you kill a man, you kill his ego, he becomes something else. So all those things put together, I want you to help us marry together humility, ego, pride, and gratitude all in one, so that we are able to understand it holistically.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think the question you're asking is very important. And I think I will go back to what I said earlier on about identity crisis, right? So when you know who you are, I think everything is central to who you are in terms of, recognizing what I mean, who you are. Recognize your power, recognize your need for help. You must know the difference between that. When I say the Superman is still a mind, it's what it means is that no matter how big you are, it doesn't mean that you don't need help. You must recognize that. But there are people who have refused, like from the example you gave, they would never ask for help. So there's a consequence that comes with you, refusing help. Number one, you refusing help does not make you being above other people. What it means is that you're not wise enough. You see, wise people actually they ask for help, and wise men ask for help. So I feel like it's very important in our journey to be able to seek for help, to ask other people. And even asking other people, I mean, like there might be people who do not have, the same status that we have. When I mean the level of status that we have, the level of achievement that we have, they'll say, who are you? Did I tell you I need your help? Stuff like that. But deep within your heart that by receiving help, this will really be a game changer for you. So I think for me is understanding your power, your ability, and also when you need for your help and how you're able to ask. I think that is very important, because just one help can really solve a whole problem that you are dealing with that your ego can never solve, right? So when you recognize that this help can really be can make a big difference in my life, can be a major solution to the problem I'm facing, then what stop you from receiving that help? People who really change the world are people who ask for help. Change makers, world leaders ask for help. They ask for support. They are not absolute. And I will say this: all of creation, God created us in a way that we are not absolute. No single human being, regardless of who you are not absolute. For instance, as a father, you are not absolute. As a mother, you are not absolute. As a student, you are not absolute. You need the wisdom of the teachers. As a teacher, you're not absolute. You need the wisdom of your students who have actually who have got to research more and more and more. So I would say no man is absolute. That is the way we're all created. Otherwise, we've heard this word before, jack of all trade. You are the entrepreneur, you are the business consultant. You will just die. You see, what happens when you don't ask for help? What you are simply doing is you're digging your grave. That's what you're doing. And that grave does not mean like death. It could mean death in the place of opportunity and advancement, because death in itself is not an end. So, we're speaking about death and losses and misses. So what happened is, what actually make a difference in your business, in your life, in your journey, in your purpose, you miss those things. So now, of what benefit is when you miss those opportunities that can change your life forever? So for me, I think over the years, that has been my reality. For instance, sometimes when I want to speak, when I want to present, in a big conference, so when I prepare my presentation, I send it to people. I like, can you please have a look at this? So when I come out and I speak, you say, oh, wow, that's a powerful one. But unknowing to many people that my presentation has been vetted. Do not go through life without having your journey vetted by people that God have designed and designated to help you manage your greatness. Don't go through life. We've seen people who feel like they are big in themselves and they make big mistakes that can never be corrected. Why? Because they feel they are absolute. So I would say, as a man, be humble enough to receive wisdom and wise counsel from other people. Vet every counsel, apply the one you need for your journey, and move forward. And I think for me, that has really worked and has really helped me in many ways.
All right, I'll pass it on to EJ, but before I pass it on, I love how you answered that question, because it's still but it boils down to the Superman thing that we're talking about. That look, you're a Superman, yeah, we know that, but when there is a need for you to ask for help, you have to. Even Superman, I think Superman used to ask for help. During, when we were watching the movie Superman, he would need to call someone that, okay,
Yeah.
let's go. Maybe the policeman would, there's a whole team behind Superman. So, yeah, thank you so much for buttressing that. Over to you, the energetic EJ.
Fantastic answers already. And I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. So, you looking at what you've done in your own job, maybe not your job, but your calling, because the way the journey you've been through in life, from being an artist to get into the mental space and helping all these people with very specific needs, right? In your journey so far, what have you come to realize outside of just this knowing your identity? So for people who probably did not, and then they found themselves in these places where they're now having to face the consequences of not knowing who they are, to then fall into the pressure of the society, of life, of work, and all of that. What have you discovered to be a very strong source of mental disorder or mental stress or mental unwellness, for lack of a word to say it, for men specifically? What have you found? Because I believe that most times, for us to be able to come to a solution, we need to get to the source. Otherwise, we'll just be rubbing the top of the tin and not getting to the root. So what have you discovered is the sources or source of this mental instability, unwellness for men, particularly, if you've discovered any?
I think there are many, side to the question you just asked now, and I think there's a part, probably a part that I've never touched before, even prior to this meeting. And when, so I was say this, that looking at my background, my dad married two wives. We were 14 children, and if you do the math, that's 17 people, and then we live in one room apartment when I was in Nigeria, way back. So if you do the math, that's almost like 17 people living in one room apartment. And when I say one room apartment, it's not like a big space. It's very small space. I know what it is to be homeless, because I know those years when I was growing up. There were days I would sleep under the staircase. There are days I would have to go and sleep on the third street and on the balcony. And when it's raining, it's like an open heaven, open sky. It's rain over me. And I mean, few things I also got to see as a young person, is more of the tension at home, abuse. My dad used to beat my mom. Sometimes my dad would lock us out of the house. So because of all of this trauma and tension in the house, so it's almost made me commit suicide. I became like suicidal in a way. I was going to take my life as a young person. Because sometimes I blame myself, like, oh, why can't I have a home like other people's home? Like, their home is so peaceful. Why can't I have a life like other people, because their life looks so perfect? But my life is a way that, my home, growing up is like, I don't want people to come and visit me, because I feel like when you come to my home, it's like hell. So nobody wants to go to hell, right? And that's why sometimes I would rather stay away from home. When I was in the university, I don't hardly come home. I would rather like go hungry rather than come home where there is tension, there is fight, and all of that. And for me, I feel like there are many things that men are carrying in a way, or children, talking about trauma, childhood trauma of the environment, trauma of even like, considering the country where you were coming from ourselves, trauma, you're a victim of being traumatized by government policy. But also home is where everything starts from. When the home is not peaceful, then everything will fall apart. And I think for me, is that is one of the reasons, in terms of the challenges that men are facing today, in the place of, the challenges they have, lack of acceptance. And I remember even when I said I was going to study, find and apply that in the university, they called a meeting. There was a meeting. I was like, look, he said he's going to study art, like art. How are you going to feed? Somebody even said that you are going to end up like a roadside street artist, and even my siblings were not celebrating, my decision to go and say I'm going to study art or find and apply that in the university, because the society, there's this belief that artists are never to do well individuals. So no parents want to support, their children, decision for career in the art, right? So for me, looking at those are part of the thing I'm talking about, where there's lack of support, the lack of validation, and also the tension, the lack of peace within the environment that the man find himself. Usually, the environment is a major determinant, in terms of how we relate with people and how we navigate through life, right? So for someone like myself, it took a whole lot from me, for me to have a life that I have today. And I often say this, that I used to be a very shy person. People say, you shy? No, it's not possible. I used to be very quiet, quiet, shy, because I always think that God created two sets of people, and I fall within the category of people that God doesn't like. And that is my perception. Yes, God doesn't like me because he put me in a family that is very difficult. God doesn't like me because he put me in a family that, there's fight here and there. God put me in a place where, I feel like I desire other people's life, but I'm not okay with the life that I have. I feel like God was very partial in the way he created me. And even when I was in the university, the way when other people are very successful in their career and all of that, say, oh, God made those people as super people and me, and that's why I hardly fight with people. I like, oh, I just go my way. Somebody, I live my life in a way like I have nothing to lose. That's the kind of mentality that I had growing up, until, God showed me mercy. So I would say I'm also a person of faith, apart from being an artist. So I'm a person of faith, and God transformed my life. And then, so who people see today is a refined version of me, a better version of me that, somebody would say is very shy today, is speaking to thousands of people in a way. And I remember one of the things that happened to me when I was very much more younger was, when, these discarded materials, within my environment, then in Mushin, Lagos, Nigeria. So when I found these discarded materials, I started bringing them to them, arranging them to create things. Now I had no one guiding me to create those things. Nobody sat with me to guide me, to counsel me, to say, oh, Kunle, do it this way, arrange it this way. So by intuition, I was just doing all of those things I was doing. And by the time I was done, there was this elderly man that saw what I did and said, and asked, oh, did you make that? I said, yes, I made that. I said, oh, wow, are you an artist? I said, no, I'm not an artist. So he saw what I did. And the very, very first time, somebody outside validated what I made. That validation didn't come from home, didn't come from my parents, didn't come from my sibling. It came from outside. So you see, several challenges that men are facing is sometimes like there's no validation, maybe from their wife or from their sister, from their friends, and all of that. It's a major crisis. Men want to be validated. Why? Because men are doers. Go check it. Men want to take care of their families. And even regardless of how small what they have done is, they want that thing to be acknowledged and to be validated. So lack of acknowledgement, lack of validation is causing serious mental stress and major catastrophe in the lives of many people today. So when men feel invalidated, unappreciated, the motivation to go ahead and do more is gone. There's no motivation, because validation, acknowledgement is a motivation to do more. So men can't be more if they're not validated. And for men who have not learned to validate themselves, that's a major problem. You see, so there is a personal validation, there's an external validation. For someone like myself, I've been victim of, the two sides in a way, like, I really want to be validated, and they say that. So over time, I've grown to validate myself by who God says I am. And I said that earlier on about identity crisis. when you don't know who you are, and I think it's a part of the thing when you want to feel like you are high and above every other person. You are not high above any. You're a human being. You're a Superman, but you're still a man, right? So for me, it's all part of the where your identity is fractured. You try to present yourself in a particular way. At the end of the day, it's just a lie. It's a facade. It's not authentic. You're suffering. You need help. Otherwise, something's going to bad. Something bad is going to happen to you. So, for me, that is the way I looked at it, looking at my journey, looking at my life, things I've been through, I mean, so many, many, many things I've gone through. But I have come to a conclusion that, like the examples I've given, as a man, if you're not validated in your home, you're not validated by your friends and all of that, you're not. The first person to acknowledge you is you. You see, if you fail to acknowledge you, then no one will acknowledge you. The first person to celebrate you is you. No, not everyone else. Your failure to celebrate yourself is failure of others to celebrate you, because you will carry yourself in that way. And for me, people know I celebrate myself. I celebrate my win. I honor myself before any other person will do it. And that's why many people today are in relationship looking for happiness. Happiness is not in a place. Happiness is in a person. It's in you. If you don't have it, don't expect other people to give it to you, because your expectation of happiness from other people is going to lead to manipulation. People are going to determine if you're going to be happy today or not. Oh, let me say today, Ejiro upset me, or today I'm going to make her to be very sad. So Ejiro has a key to make me happy or make me sad. That's witchcraft. That is you handing over your entire life to another person. That is you making another person to dominate you. No, that's very wrong. No person should, no individual should dominate the other person. But if you don't know who you are, you'll be dominated. You'll be subdued. And you'll be forgotten.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. As a person of faith, this line is just like, oh, wow. Isn't it true? He gave us authority to dominate what he has created, not one another. But at the end of the day, because we have been called and designed to dominate, if you don't see, if anything around you is not dominating like you, they are submitting themselves for domination. Oh my goodness, that's so good. That is so good. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, just using your own story to buttress it brings it home for a lot of men. And I think, like you said, is not the part that we talk about a lot, which is the childhood trauma. And it's for the honestly, it could be everywhere in the world, but it's as if there's a layer of it for us from Africa, and especially from Nigeria, because it's beyond just the family now. Even the environment itself is traumatizing in itself. And so we carry all those unhealed traumas and we grow with them, and it shapes the way we see life. It becomes the lens through which we see ourselves and see others. And so it becomes a thing of, if you don't understand it, to dismantle it, to then accept it, to go through some processes, whether coaching, therapy, and all of that, then you just carry that trauma and you then keep passing it on. Now, in your job as as somebody who uses art for therapy and all of that, can you tell us a little bit of that work that you do and what you have seen it do in people, in how it helps people probably to heal or to become better or mentally stable?
Wonderful. That's a wonderful question. And you just asked now. And I probably will go back to what I said earlier, because it's not totally isolated in its own way. I'm talking about how I found discarded materials and how using repurposing those art materials really gave that materials a second chance. So what happened is what was meant to be discarded became regarded. So because there was a repurposing. So if you look at you've had a lot of upcycling and repurposing of materials in a way, right? So you will see some materials that, that's why it's like all over the world, there's a creative economy, there is circular economy, there's a lot of recycling and recycling. So what you bought for a particular price, when that thing is recycled with other materials, it become more expensive. It become more expensive, right? So for me, that is what happened to me. That when I look down on myself, when I say that there's nothing significant about myself, and so what happened to me was more like what I did that period was like a metaphor. Was like a metaphor because that thing, it felt like that thing had a second life. That thing, like somebody looked and said, this is a masterpiece. But before that time, it was a discarded materials until I started working on it, until I started doing something about that thing. And then a big change happened, right? I think there's somebody at the door. Sorry.
While
Wow,
we're
I love
waiting for
that. That's it.
what was meant to be
To
discarded
be
was,
discarded, become regarded. Woo!
I mean, that's my take home already. I love it, love it, love it. And I mean, I have a question for him. Maybe when he's done sharing his thoughts, I have a
But
question
yes,
because
I love.
yeah, very
I
very interesting.
very very interesting, and I love it when okay, he's back. Yeah, welcome back. No problem at
Let's
all.
bring it back to one place, everyone. So what is discarded can be regarded if that thing go through a process of repurposing. And for me, is that many of us have to go through a repurposing in a way that our life is refined and redefined. And that will be able to find our purpose. Um, when I said I got external validation, I say, "Oh, are you an artist?" I say, "Of course, I'm an artist. I'm not an artist, but you did it." And then from there, I decided I was going to pursue art as a career. So I went to university, I studied art, and then through that, God was intentional about me studying art because art helped me to find my voice. When I had the privilege of
Mm.
meeting with the US president in 2015, I looked at myself like, you, a primary school art teacher, but beyond being a primary school art teacher, you use creativity to support children who are on in hospital admission, work with youth living with mental health problem, work with young people living with sickle cell disease and all of that. But beyond that is also as I help others, I got help, I got refined, I got better, and doors were opened unto me. So that transformation, in a way, that lead experience, in the way that my life was reshaped, was redefined, that I could have an handshake with the president of the United States. That's the healing power of art. That's the transformation power of art. And I've seen that many people that that we've worked with in the hospital through music, concert, and all of that, those who are going to commit suicide, there are examples of them who, I mean, there's a particular lady that uh we did a session with other patients, in the psychiatric hospital in Lagos, Nigeria, and then we're planning to have a music concert in the psychiatric hospital. And she woke up to me and said, "Oh, Mr. Adewale, I would love to write a song." And this was somebody who was going to commit suicide, because of certain things that happened to her. And then so during this period, she went to write a song and she titled it, "I'm a Superstar and I Know That." And then so she wrote this song, and then I know what happened was that we brought our orchestra team from the community to the hospital. And then so we saw her as a human being, not as a patient. So even though she was wearing, there's a gown, there's a uniform that patients wear in the hospital. So we're not looking at her that way. We saw our humanity, we saw our person, we saw the talent that she had. And then she rehearsed, with these musicians that we brought into the hospital. And then the final day came, this lady was performing with the hospital staff members, the directors and all of that. Almost about 100 plus people were seated, and she was performing. And I was in a little corner, and I was I was crying. She was saying, "Nobody needs to tell me who I am. I'm a superstar and I know that. I'm a superstar and I know that. I'm a superstar and I know that. Nobody needs to tell me who I am. I'm a superstar and I know that. And believe me, today, this young lady is out of the hospital. I think a few months after we did that segment or that session of the art session, in the hospital, she got, the start from the hospital. And then when she left the hospital, she went back to music school. And then she graduated from music school, and then she started performing with expatriates, that come to Nigeria, stuff like that. And, interestingly, her life was totally transformed this year when we had our Young Leaders for Art and Health Summit with the in collaboration with the Commonwealth in London. She spoke from the United States. I made her speak to other people that came from all over the world, to speak to people who came from all over the world in London. She spoke at that event, and then she told me, she said, Mr. Kunle, thank you for bringing music back to me. That's the first thing she said. And then she said, people know me today because of you. And I think that is very interesting. Somebody who's going to take a life. I've been in that place. I've been in that situation where I was going to commit suicide. But God in his mercy, was helpful. And then, I got help. I got access to creativity, and that changed my life. Imagine what will happen in the lives of other people if they have access to art, if they have access to engagement. Talk about even the hospitals, right? The hospital where people are not just being, being given drips and just, pills and all of that. Art in itself is medicine. Art in itself can really bring change. Some people it's just a bit of music, a bit of painting, a bit of dancing, a bit of joy. All of that can really make a huge difference and can accelerate their recovery. And for me, that's what I've seen in the healing power of art, in the way the art and the creativity can accelerate recovery for people who actually were in a bad place. Art in itself is light and can really bring people out of dark place and can change their life and transform their life forever. So I'm a classic example of that. And I've seen several other people who have come in contact with our program, and their life, has been changed because of art. So I mean, that's what I would say, that the art is really powerful and can really make a big difference in the lives of all the people. We've seen even in the place of faith, when the king was troubled with evil spirit, a young man called David was playing music, and depression left him, the spirit, the bad energy left. So when there's good music, then the bad energy will disappear. And many people today in the hospital, all they need is good vibes, some good vibes from music, and through storytelling and whatever it is. And we've seen that several in our hospital program, our community program, and we've seen how transformative how the arts can be.
Oh my goodness. Like I can't stop smiling, and my jaws are aching from the smiles as you shared that story of transformation with us. And the beauty for me here is you actually giving us a richer view of art, because when people hear art, generally for people who are not into the art world, it just goes straight to drawing or painting only, and it stops there. But now you've just kind of opened our mind up to say that art is bigger than that. It's in the even performing art as well, poetry, singing, dancing, then crafts, and oh, this is so beautiful. I
I'm, go-
love it.
I'm going to add to this that one of the lessons that art taught me is the art of process. The art of process. You spoke about, people thinking about art as drawing. There's a desire to be able to, there's a desire to make a thing, and then to make that thing perfect, that everybody will like it. That is the way many of us are living our lives. We have an idea of a perfect life, so we strive for it. I will keep striving for it. So we miss all of the beauties in our journey, which is a process in itself. That the beauty of life is not, it's not the finishing line. It's in the process of meeting beautiful people, amazing building amazing relationship, and changing other people's life. So for me, art is not the goal of art is not to make a thing, but rather to experience a change in the process. I spoke about what is discarded can be regarded. That's a processing. Today I have this, this ceramic ware in my hand. But this is refined. This went through a process, right? This leather jacket I'm wearing went through a process. The fine dress you're wearing today went through a process. So there's no need to rush through life. Calm down. Everything will be fine. Calm
Oh
down.
my God.
Just calm down
And enjoy the
and
process.
enjoy the journey. And that's what it
Oh,
is. And that's why, because sometimes
you
we
know?
try to compare our lives with other people's life. Somebody
Hmm.
else's life is not your life. Let them live their own life. And you
You
live
live
your own life.
yours.
But it doesn't make them better than you.
You know,
It
something
doesn't make
just happened. Something just happened right now, right? So when you were talking about the craft and the art, and I was just explaining the different part of art, and I mentioned craft. The moment I mentioned craft, a name came to my head. Is my friend. She loves craft a lot and all of that. She has a whole outfit dedicated to that. She has a conference and all of that. And her name flashed in my head. And I looked at our Instagram page and I saw her comment. And it's not regular because she's in the US right now. So it's not regular that she would be on the I've not seen her on the show for a longest time. So it's so weird that I mentioned craft. I thought of her and then I saw her comment when she said 100%. I'm like, oh my god, this is goosebump.
Yeah,
Zazzy.
we need to enjoy life. I mean, if you have really seen pottery, if you've seen where they've made clay and the clay will go through the kiln is more like the oven, sorry, where to go through a certain degree of fire before that thing can really be solidified. But even beyond that, there is coating, there is painting. But many of us, we are in a rush to have a perfect life. We are in a rush to really like get to the finishing line. No, just calm down. Calm down. Life is not designed to be lived in a rush. Life is not designed. When God was creating you, God was not in a rush. It took his time. It took his time. So let's take our time to enjoy, the blessing of every day, the blessing of sunshine. That's why someone like myself, I love adventure, I love nature, I love walking around, I love just experiencing all of the things that God has created. And sometimes, we're depressed because we don't have money, but we're not grateful that we can still breathe. It's not somebody who's alive that will actually want money. If you are dead, can you have money? No. So there are things that we consider as little, like they don't have significance. So we need to be able to pay attention to things that we're not really grateful for. The gift of life, the gift of friendship, the gift of sight that you can see. All of these add on the part of the things that I think makes us who we are. And it's
Well,
very, very, very important. So
important.
life should be lived, or life is designed to be lived as a process. The books we
It's
are
a
reading came
rush.
from trees. Somebody refined, they cut down the trees, they refine and refine and refine. A life that is not refined cannot be defined. And if your life is not defined, your life cannot be distinguished. So because it comes from definition to being this. So for me, like I told you, I've been refined, I've been redefined, I'm defined, now I'm distinguished. All of these are process.
Grace, over to you.
Ah, this is power packed. Power packed. Thank you so much for gracing our platform. And this is where I'm just pausing to say to someone out there, Mr. Kunle is using his voice for impact. And I don't know about you. For me, you're definitely impacting me. And I just want to tell you thank you for sharing your story. I want you to talk about victimhood and the victim mentality and the victor's mentality. From your story, it would have been very easy because we hear people talk a lot about how I'm not from a privileged home I mean, so easy for someone to say, and I mean, you just shared your story, and you have been able to help someone. I don't know about anybody, but you've helped someone. You've helped me to see a perspective. Speak to someone out there, or at what point because we have 1,001 fine art teacher. In fact, when you were talking about being a primary school fine art teacher, I got it was like a trigger for me, a little trigger, because I remembered that my fine art teacher, Mr. Oye, I'll never forget. Mr. Oye, my secondary school teacher. I believe I would have been more creative if I had a very wonderful fine art teacher. I would have, I cannot draw to save my life, and he somehow made me. I was like, this man, he'll practically flog you or use words to kill the creativity inside of you, and that's how I packed myself, and went. So okay, that's on a lighter note, and how some teachers could just somehow kill the artist in you if they don't kill it. So when you were talking about it, I admire. I had to go through the science field, but every time in my office is close to a gallery, and I'm going to go back to the question. When I go there, I almost see artists. I see them as gods. I'm sorry. I'm like, how did you bring this to life? I'll just look at them. I'm like, how? So I respect artists because I cannot draw to save my life. Now, there are 1,001 fine art artists there. And I know that you express yourself through different means. And I hope you're going to close our show with a song. I want to hear you sing. All right. At what point? You mentioned that you started helping and you became different. You became unique.
Is she frozen? I think the network, or is it just me? Okay, I think it's me. Is it me, or is she frozen? Can you hear me? Okay. I think Grace's network is frozen at the moment.
No, she's frozen. I'm okay. I think I muted myself.
Okay. I was wondering. I thought it was from my end. Oh, I wanted her to land on that question, but I don't know if she already asked it and was explaining the question. But did you get?
I think she was.
Yeah.
She was explaining it, and I'm trying to understand.
Yes, she was trying to explain it. Okay. While we wait for her to come back, because we need to wrap this up shortly, I want you to speak to a fellow man. This is you coming from all your lived experiences to say you've been there, done that. Thank God for God. God transformed your life, and I'm grateful for that. But speak to a man who probably, maybe not exactly where you were before your transformation happened, but they've not gotten to that point where they've come to terms with who they truly are, understanding their identity and being grounded in that. What would you say to that man to maybe encourage, ignite, or something? Yeah, speak to that man.
I would say life happens, and don't let what has happened to you stop you from happening. Every man is created to happen, but life happens all the same. But don't allow what happened to you to stop you from happening. So what happened to me, I was born into the family, I was, and all of that. I was born into the country I was. I was praying, oh God, why didn't you make me a son of Dangote, the richest man in the whole world, and all of that, stuff like that. But I feel like all of this, if you're going to be a failure, there's 1,001 million, 1 billion reasons why you should be a failure. You have life will give you more than enough reasons why you should fail. But it is you that will decide you cannot fail. And actually, every man has a will to be able to strive and survive and thrive in a way. And I think it's being inspired by other people whose life actually and journey can actually be a light to you. And in a way that, because sometimes we feel like what we're going through is very peculiar and we're alone. Actually, it's not peculiar. There are 1 million people actually who are having similar experiences, but they have gone through it, they have come out of it. Now, if they have gone through it, they came out of it. What that means is that if they can survive it, then you can as well. So it's you being encouraged that, you know, where you are today is not the end of your story.
Love it. Gracie, you were trying to explain the question, so you didn't quite land before the network went through. So we're going to close out with your question. So you can go ahead and ask, and then we'll close out with that.
All right, thank you so much. So I think you have talked about it. I was just trying to let you help someone that has a victim mentality to be able to get into a victor's mentality.
I think we all need to make assessment of our life. We need to make assessment of our situation. And we should not allow our situation to become our reality. We should not allow like what is happening around us. There was a book I wrote actually. So I've written like 3 books. I would probably mention the second book. I can't remember the first one very well now. The second book I wrote was titled "Why Sit We Here Till We Die?" The Tales of 4 Lepers. Why sit we here till we die? And I think that's what you're saying. The question you're asking is so that book is the response to that. Why sit we here? They were lepers. They were there. They were outcasts. They were going to sit down. They were hungry. They were sent out. They were not qualified to live among other people. But if they remain seated there, they are going to die. But do you know, many of us, life has put us in that situation where people don't want us to, they don't want us in their circle. They don't want us to be with them. They don't want us in their group. And then you're hungry. You're suffering. And then you don't like, how about if I make use of what I have? What the lepers did, they made use of their feet. Well, even if there's no feet, they made use of what they had. And as they moved, a whole lot of things happened and changed. So no matter how poor you think you are, there's something that you have that can change your life forever. You need to discover that thing. In fact, there's no situation a man has found himself that there's no single one thing that is left that cannot change that man's story or change that man's life. There are a lot of people, countless, testimonies of people who actually just one thing that they had left and that changed their life. So if you're out there and you think life is over for you, I would say life is not over for you. Life, you can start again. There's no shame in starting again. You see, you are not in competition with anyone. It's your life. Live it. Live it based on your own terms. You're not here to impress. You are here to impact. So you're not living your life to impress, to say, oh, my friends and stuff like that. You're not here for impression. You're here for impartation. And you can start again. You can start again. So life will reward your bravery, not your excuses. Life will reward your courage, not your failures. So you must be able to fail forward, even if you fail at all, fail forward. Spring from where you are today, because where you are today is not how your story ends.
Wow, that was a beautiful, beautiful message for anyone listening. Who's listening now is going to listen later. Life as you see it now is not the end of your story, and you have the capacity and the ability and everything in you to still change that story, to rewrite it. Life, God will not leave you with nothing, like absolutely nothing. There is always something, no matter how tiny that thing is, but the onus is on us. The job is for us to discover that small thing, even if it's a mustard seed. Discover that mustard seed, that one talent, and stop looking at the person with 2, the person with 5, the person with 10. You have one. That's one that you have. Can you appreciate it? Can you recognize it? Can you regard it before you disregard it? Can you let it go through a process so that even though you wanted to discard it, you can then regard it as that one thing that you've been blessed with that can change your story, but not only yours, but also make you a person that would impact others, because we are all here to create an impact, not to, compare, not to compete, not to impress, but to impact each other positively. Thank you so much, Dr. Kunle. You've been an amazing guest on the show today. Thank you for taking us on this beautiful journey. Thank you for taking us a little bit into the world of art and, looking at how art is actually a vehicle for healing and for recovery and for discovery and for process, understanding that life in itself is meant to be enjoyed through a process and not just to be endured as a destination. You're not just going to one place and then that's it. Enjoy the process, smell the roses, enjoy the rain, feel the breeze, laugh, smile, dance if you want to, and express yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the show today. Thank you, Dr. Kunle. I'm so sorry, Gracie, your network today say, hey, you showed you Che Banza. So sorry about that. I think you're frozen again. Grace, are you there? Oh, it's still frozen.
No, I'm right here. I mean, this is am I frozen? You can't hear me?
I can hear you, but you're frozen. We can hear you, but you're frozen.
Well,
yeah. But anyways, Dr. K has to drop now because his time with us is already exhausted. But thank you so much for being a part of the show today. How can people follow the work that you do? How can people follow the work that you do quickly?
Definitely they can follow on. I run a global art medicine fellowship program, a training program for creatives, entrepreneurs, medical professionals and practitioners, people from different walks of life. So they can follow on Instagram, Art in Medicine Fellowship, as in ARTS in Medicine Fellowship. And also, I think that if you get there, definitely be able to follow that, or follow me on Dr. Kunle Adewale on IG. Definitely will be able to find, or follow Kunle Adewale on LinkedIn. You'll be able to see me there. Or I think those platforms, either way, you'll be able to find out what I'm doing.
Or just Google Kunle Adewale.
Or just type Kunle Adewale. Just share something with what is happening already. But I'm really, really honored to be here today. I'm really, really grateful to you for inviting me, Ejiro and also Grace, to share with our audience today. And I hope that for those who are listening out there today, I would say number one, it's not a coincidence or a mistake that I was invited to speak today. I hope one way or the other you are inspired to realize that where you are today is not your story ends. There's so much more to you, and there's so much that's going to happen through you, and you're not going to give up as a man. Life happens, but God wants you to happen, and don't give up on yourself.
I love it. I love it. So there's somebody who's been watching and on YouTube says she wants to connect with you. So probably I'll send your LinkedIn link to him so that he can connect with you. His name is AQ. He's also a coach and he's currently in the UK as well. I know you're in the UK, so maybe you guys can just connect and take the conversation further. Thank you, AQ, for joining us on the show today. God bless you. Thank you, everyone. Until our next conversation, let's see what we can squeeze in this last week of November before we, cap it all on this Movember series. But it's been an amazing journey so far. I want to say thank you. Dr. Kunle, please, if you need to rush, you can. No problem at all. Thank you so much for being here. We release you with love. God bless you, sir.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.
All right. So it's been an amazing conversation so far on the show, on the series of November or of men's mental health, and I hope that you've learned a lot from all the conversations we've had. If you've missed any of them, please go check out our YouTube channel to get the full package. There are some deep conversations that we've had already this month, and we probably have one or two more to go, so look out for those, and then just be a part of what we're working on. But before we go quickly, we have our first in-person a meet and greet with an author. One of our guests from last week was an author, is an author, a best-selling author. And so we're having a meet and greet with him this week in Dubai. So if you're in the UAE, whether you're in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, he's coming all the way from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. So you can be a part of that conversation where we get to sit with him in a place and ask him questions. He's going to have some copies of the book. So if you want to get a copy of the book, to sign the book and to ask questions, and I kid you not, the book is amazing. It's transformational, simple but yet powerful. So you want to be a part of that. There will be more details on that on our page, on Instagram as well as on LinkedIn. So keep an eye out for that and be a part of the conversation on Friday, the 28th of November. But that's all for now. Till our next conversation. God bless you all. Bye-bye.